Hello and welcome to the Executive Hub Show, the show that helps you grow your business with simple tips and strategies from successful entrepreneurs. Today, I have an amazing guest. My guest is Tom Burton. Welcome, Tom.
Hello, hello. Thanks for having me on the show.
Great to see you. Today, we're talking about why grinding harder won't get you ahead. And we're going to talk about intuition, how to use your intuition, and the rest of it. So it'll be an interesting conversation. Share the link and the broadcast with someone that you think could benefit from slowing down a little bit, tapping into their intuition, and learning a thing or two about slowing down if they're going too hard and they're kind of experiencing burnout. Let me do the proper introduction to Tom, and we're going to dive into this great conversation. Tom Burton is an Air Force veteran, inventor, and CEO of Grypmat. What started as an idea in his basement took him all the way to Shark Tank, the cover of Time magazine, and even NASA. But after years of relentless hustle, Tom had a game-changing realization. Grinding isn't isn't the answer, it is the problem. It's exhausting, leads to burnout, and ironically pushes success further away. Now he's on a mission to help others break the burnout cycle and shift from chasing success to effortlessly attracting it. Tom, great to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show.
Fantastic. Whereabouts are you?
Right now, I'm in Arequipa, Peru.
Amazing. What's it like out there?
Right now, it's a little rainy. It's a bit cold because we're high up in the altitude, and it's pretty cool because we're surrounded by mountains.
Love it. Love it. And so are you guys like on the opposite season down there? Like, like it's
Not
almost
quite. Where the more south in South America you get, it's like that. Like let's say Brazil or Argentina. More like Argentina. I guess where are you at?
I'm in Canada, so it's winter
Oh
right now.
yeah. Okay. So Canada is you're like the southern. We were in the southern tip of Argentina, and that was like Alaska to me. I mean, I haven't
Yeah.
done too much of Canada. Everything's been on the border, but yeah, basically Argentina is more like Canada, the opposite
Yeah,
of Canada.
I only learned a few years ago where that there are opposite seasons, North and South Pole. I did not know that, and then it's amazing how it works. Like it's summer, and down there it's winter, and it just blows my mind how that works.
The first time I went to Brazil was on my birthday in July. And I was like, it's going to be summertime. And it was like rainy season. And it was still great for me. But all the Brazilians were like sad because it was raining.
My goodness, cool. Let's get into it, Tom. What is your story?
Yeah. So, like you said, I had an idea in my basement. And it was the Grypmat is a flexible tool tray. Keep your tools close when working on an aircraft. And basically, like to rewind a little bit, was I was in the Air Force and I'd work on the fighter jets. And if you ever see a plane, it's like very curved and smooth. If you set tools or anything on it, it slides off very easily. So after having this problem later in my mom's car, I saw she had this non-slip mat on her dashboard to hold her cell phone in place when driving. I was like, well, I could make these larger for tools. And at the same time, I was going to college at University of Toledo for engineering, and so I knew how to design things, and had a lot of experience of making things with my hands. And I just started making these in my basement, and then it ended up catching fire. It's pretty great.
Wow. And then how did you end up on Shark Tank?
So Shark Tank was after doing a Kickstarter. So the I did a Kickstarter. Started out Kickstarter, we rose six figures, but it really started terrible. The first week was a nightmare. Actually, one thing that happened was did a Kickstarter the first week. if anything could go wrong, it did go wrong. And the first week, actually, my grandpa died. And during the funeral, I remember my dad spoke during the funeral. And my dad said that when he grew up, he liked to play baseball, he liked to do art, and he liked to skateboard. And his dad, my grandpa, who passed away, my grandpa taught my dad how to do things that were practical, which were to deliver packages, to get a paper route, to shovel snow, and to do construction. And those are the three things my dad does today. So once, basically in this situation, I'm 1 week into the Kickstarter, it's going terrible, and I hear my dad say this, and I kind of took it as my dad didn't really do what he really wanted to do. And it was kind of like this big like intuition kick. If you get that gut feeling where you're like, you just got to do something. And I was like, all right, we're going all in on this Kickstarter. And we ended up raising six figures. It was 113,000 in a month. And it was a lot of hard work, but when we did it, there was like a lot of press started coming in, because it was like, as a joke, I call it the American wet dream, because we got like military guy making a thing in his basement and selling it, and NASA getting a hold of it. So this press started coming in, and then someone messaged me through Kickstarter and said, asked me to apply for Shark Tank. And really, they just have scouts that get you to apply in the beginning. And so I did, and then it turns out at that time, Shark Tank never filmed with a military member, and that was like high on their list. And yeah, long story short, ended up getting on the show.
All right, so a few questions. For those people that are watching or listening, tell us briefly about what is Kickstarter and how it works, and how did you get that 113 grand?
Yeah, so Kickstarter is basically, if you have an idea and you want to raise money for it, but you don't have enough money to like do the full thing. In this case, for Grypmat, it was needing to pay for a mold, needing to pay for a bunch of inventory, all the costs to bring a product into reality. You can make a video and then take pre-orders, and then you do a campaign for however long. Typically it's 30 days. And then if you hit the number, like let's say that you need $20,000. If you hit that number, then you'll get the money. So they basically put in their credit card numbers. It does not get charged until the end of the campaign. So what was so frustrating for us was the internal goal was $100,000. We needed to do 100,000 to actually make it work. But externally, the goal was $10,000, because we were trying to get more PR attention. So we could say, military member smashes Kickstarter goal in X amount of days. And so the thing is that externally it looked like we're doing great, but internally I'm like, we're doing terrible. We're not going to get the 100,000. My grandpa dies. All these things happen, and that's what I was just like. Just stay focused. Just stay on the trail. That's what I could like feel. My intuition was just like, don't quit. Just like kick it out these 30 days, and then we'll go from there.
So perfect. So those people will kind of pre-order to pay for your product, and then once you deliver it, then you will just deliver it to them, right?
Yeah, you end up collecting their information afterwards, and when you get the product, you ship. It's a little like it's not. It's a fist fight. It's not an easy process, because what happens is you got the time that they see it. They put in the money, and then when they get charged, so they see it and buy it. They get charged at the end of the campaign, but then it could be, for us, it was 6 months to deliver, which is really rare. Sometimes it's usually less. It's usually about a year or more, if ever. Sometimes they never get it because
okay,
yeah, because sometimes they misevaluate how much things are going to cost, and then it kind of, goes downhill. I know people who put in a lot of money, and like I know someone who I think they raised about $250,000 and put in about 100,000 of their own money in it, and just was able to deliver the product. Actually, after raising $113,000, I think I've ended up putting in a total of $3,000. But I also had inventory. Like a lot of my money was invested into Grypmats.
Oh, okay. So that was just additional bonus money for you, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. And then interesting. So some people take up to a year to deliver. I mean, you got to get the mold, you got to get the production line and the whole thing, right?
Yeah, yeah. The thing is, if you look at the Grypmat, it's a rubber tray. Like for manufacturing and design purposes, you can't really get much more simple than that. But for something like, man, I can't. The coolest cooler was one. It was like a cooler that had speakers on it and everything, and it was wildly famous for failing. They raised like $13 million and never delivered.
On
Yeah,
Kickstarter?
yeah, because there was just they were making claims that it would have like a blender and it would have these special speakers and it have like all these things, and or I think a big thing was it would blend like a margarita in like 4 seconds. To actually have a high powered blender at that level was basically the same price of all the money that they were taking for pre-orders. So they're like, wait, we got to get a blender and speakers and coolers and all this other stuff. So I
Okay.
don't know what the outcome of that came, but that was, yeah. So sometimes people have a little bit of resentment in putting in money into Kickstarter. So yeah, and it's also like the practicality of the product. If it's something as simple as Grypmat, like that's pretty easy to deliver
Is
on.
it only products that they do, or can you like put out software out there and get people to buy it?
You might be able to do software. I wouldn't be surprised. I know they do a lot of games actually, like board games,
Okay.
and sometimes they'll do like filming. Like I want to make a movie of, a 20-minute movie about something. You could raise money for that too.
Interesting. So next question is, how did you end up in NASA?
Yeah. So I went to a trade show. It was the second trade show I ever did. Um, second trade show I was actually selling Grypmats, and the trade show started out terrible. It was rough because it was me, the guy who was. So let me back up. How I got on NASA was actually before the Kickstarter. So I started out actually selling a version of the Grypmat, like that was very like I call it the Grypmat original. And then when I did Kickstarter later was with 3 different sizes. So when I started selling the original, I was working with this guy who was like, hey, I think we should do this on Kickstarter. So pre-Kickstarter, this guy comes to the show with me. So got the Kickstarter guy, got a friend who is good at sales, but he's in between jobs and he's never been on a plane before. And he comes to this aviation trade show to help me sell. And then I got another friend who is just coming because he likes planes. So our booth is terrible. The booth is literally a table that I took from the Airbnb. I have a black bed sheet from home, from my bed at home, and a display to hold the Grypmats that I used from a door at the house I was living. I chopped up the door and made a display with it. And I had
Wow.
this like curved white board that was good for the Grypmats to stick on it. And I actually pulled that out of a dumpster in college. But anyway, I had this terrible display, and the Kickstarter guy, he was very like visually amazing at like graphic design. So if something's ugly, it really hits him deep. And our booth is terrible. It doesn't even have carpet. We're the only booth out of like hundreds and maybe a few thousand booths that don't have carpet. And we're at this show called NBAA, National Business Aviation Association. This is like the all the top dogs are in for aviation. Like a lot of money is going through in the industry here. And we look broke as fuck. And I got this like cheap suit on. And I remember the Kickstarter guy, he said, well, there's always next year. And when he said that, I could, that like gut feeling. I had the gut feeling, and I remember thinking to myself, this term that came up a lot when I was starting Grypmat was no opportunity will be lost due to my effort. And I was like, I'm going to hustle out of this show as hard as I can.
Nice.
And so we'd come early, we'd leave late, we'd go to the after parties, trying to explain, tell people about Grypmat. And basically I'd come early, and the only other people that were there were other people in their booths. And I would just tell every single person that's sitting in their booth about Grypmat. I had these big, terrible flyers that were like a full page, and I'd like show it to them. And there was one day that the show was just dead. And there was this lady that was at this like magazine, like this booth that was about like this aviation magazine. And she just asked me a few questions. She's like, "You're in the military?" Yeah. "How did you make this?" "I was in my basement." She like talks to someone. She's like, says somebody's name, like, can he come? And they're like, "Yeah, he'll be there in a few minutes." So she comes over the booth, and she's just writing a few things down. And like whoever comes with like a camera. And then he's like, if you search Tom Burden Grypmat, actually probably Tom Burden NASA, there'll be this like me in this like cheap blue suit, like holding an orange Grypmat, me with much shorter hair and like shaved up. And that article got the attention of someone from NASA. And what happened was NASA ended up like making an order that the website couldn't process. And the lady,
Here's massive order.
Yeah, so someone called me from NASA, but they didn't say NASA. They said like National Aviation Space Association, whatever NASA stands for. And I'm like, oh, what is that? I've never heard of that. I was like, oh yeah, okay. I was like, well, just send me an email of what I'm thinking it's NASA. I was like, there's no way this is NASA. He goes, send me an email of your order, and then I'll just register it myself. And there was some plugin I had with Gmail that it would pop up like their name in the picture, and there was the NASA logo, and I was like, oh my God, this is actually the real NASA.
Shit, this is real.
Yeah. And then I'm like literally in my like apartment with, they're thinking they're calling like some real company. I'm just like in the basement, like where I'd make them. And so yeah, that then end up getting into NASA that way. That same trade show that I got into NASA also got the attention of Aviol, which is basically the distribution company for Boeing as well.
Fantastic, gang. If you're watching or listening, if you have any questions for Tom or I, just put it in the chat, and we'll do our best to answer those questions. That's an interesting story. So you're like sitting in your shorts, and there's NASA guy on the line trying to buy.
Yeah.
Wow, that is amazing. So interesting. And then, so it seems like they placed a big order, and the site couldn't process it, and you had to kind of manually take care of it.
Yeah, it was really kind of like a medium order. I don't know what happened, but I'm actually glad she called, because if it just would have like went through the website, I might not have ever saw it, because it just was, I just see the order, I print the label, and ship it out. So it was kind of a fluke, but it worked out.
Fantastic. Love those stories like that. How like you start from your basement, you kind of hustle, work your way around, and next thing you know, NASA is knocking on your door trying to buy, and the site is not working. That's awesome. Beautiful. So we kind of alluded to it already, but tell us about who you serve and what do you do for them.
So Grypmat is a product that it's to support people who are organized or disorganized, keep their tools organized or their hardware. Now I've been, moving away myself. I've been like removing myself from the company, and it's still fully operational, and I still own the company. I actually, the past like 6 months ago, I actually bought out the Sharks, so they're not involved anymore with the company. But
Okay.
yeah, so in combination with that, I'm taking more of like a back seat. So what I've been focusing on more is um, doing a lot more like content creation and working with some people like one-on-one of basically business strategy, or really talking about more of like mindfulness and like emotional intelligence with business. So the thing is, what I've been focusing on is the concept of your intuition and how it can be a big, to me, it's like the largest untapped resource for in the business world.
Beauty. Love it. So you mentioned that you ended up buying out the Sharks and then just running it on your own, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Which Sharks did you have on board, and was it easy or hard to kind of buy them out?
Just due to the circumstance, it was pretty easy. It was kind of just kind of the phase that we were in. We were together for like 7 years, so it was just time to move on. Um, there was some things, I think, on both sides. Some expectations may have been missed. I'm not here to like talk negative about them, but I yeah, it just was time to move on.
Who did you have on board as Sharks?
Um, Lori Grenier, Mark Cuban, and Richard Branson, who was a guest on the show.
Oh, wow, interesting. Some heavy hitters out there. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So, and then uh who are buyers of Grypmat right now? I know you said you started in aviation world, and then
Yeah.
who else is using? Are they like using it in jet fighters, or who else is using it? How has it been being used?
Yeah. I actually got a call a few days ago with a military sales rep that I've worked with. I haven't heard from them in a while, but I guess they've started making some more sales. So they are making some more sales. I think that's in the fighter jet industry or department. But really, I would say the biggest demographic is automotive. That we sell to.
So is people just using in on their cars on their dashboard and placing their stuff in there?
Uh, Typically, when you're working underneath the hood of a car, you got your tools like scattered all over, underneath the hood.
Oh, okay,
And
so
this is,
mechanics.
yeah, really the mechanics. So the thing is, depending on the demographic, there's different value propositions. So the when you're talking about the automotive industry, it's about not losing your tools. When you're talking about the aviation industry, specifically when you're talking about home builders, which are people who build their plane at home, that's where I started. It's about not scratching the paint.
Oh yeah,
And if you're talking about probably the demographic that it's the biggest pain point is actually helicopter mechanics, because when they're where the blades come together, uh, that is there's no really good spot to set any of your tools. And if you like, dropping one little hardware is huge there, like that because one nut and bolt can really like
messed
get
the
into
whole
the
thing up.
gears and mess. Yeah, so
Yeah,
they want to make sure that they don't drop anything.
fantastic. So it seems like you have different markets out there for your product.
Yeah, that was a pretty interesting like experience of you basically have one product, and it's like, how do you sell this to multiple different types of people? This
Yeah.
is dry erase market, this is dry erase marker, but there's different types of people who will buy this and for different reasons. So um,
Speaking of which, what was your go-to market strategy? Because this is a problem that I know for a fact a lot of businesses have. That they try to sell to everybody and then it just doesn't work out. How did you guys go about selling?
Yeah, so I started the very first show. I think what's interesting, one thing that I did was I focused on trade shows. I don't know how or why that was the thing, but specifically, like the trade show I started out with was, it's called EAA Oshkosh. It's called Air Venture. It's in the town of Oshkosh in Wisconsin, and I think what was pretty critical with that is because it was an in-person event. I did a lot of research to know that would be that would be like more of a high value customer. So the thing is, when I get to automotive, they can use it, but it's not nearly as, I'm not solving as big of a pain point. So in the aviation industry, if you just scratch the paint, it's $300. It costs at least $300 just to buy the paint to fix the scratch. So if you're going to buy a $50, $60, $80 rubber tray, that's all day. So really, I mean, I was finding the people that, like, if I'm selling Band-Aids, I'm finding the people who are bleeding in the streets, and
That's
I'm
right.
actually doing it in person. Where the thing is, you can find all these the data points and doing ads, because if I have a product and I'm going to sell this, the first sale is going to be digital, through a digital ad or online. You don't really, you get so much, you can get a lot of data on the customer, and also there's a lot of data that you're not getting. Thing is that at a trade show, at literally the first trade show, there's thousands of people walking by me that don't even look at me.
Right.
That look at me, they keep walking. So I'm seeing exactly, okay, what's actually catching their attention. I've seen countless times there'll be a husband-wife combo walking by, and the wife will stop. The husband will keep walking, and she'll go, "Babe, come here. Look at this. Look at this." And the husband will be like, "What is this? You selling tools? You selling tools? Babe, I got tools." She's like, "No, this is to hold your tools. This is to hold your tools."
Yeah.
Because, and then the husband will be like, "I don't lose my tools." And she'll be like, "You don't lose your tools?
Oh
Well,
yeah.
last time you were so upset when you came into dinner because you lost your tool." So the thing is, because I knew that from doing all these trade shows, later 80% of our sales end up being from women, because
Yeah.
we focused on the gift buyers.
Yeah.
The thing is,
I can
when
imagine.
it comes to like competitors or knockoffs, they don't know those kinds of things.
Oh
They
yeah.
can knock it off, they can make it cheaper, that's fine, but they don't know enough about the customer.
Yeah. It would be a great gift for Father's Day or Christmas,
Right,
I'm
right,
guessing, right?
right.
Buy the tool for your husband to make sure this jackass doesn't lose his tools anymore.
Yeah, yeah. So right. So then, as you can imagine, the marketing strategy is completely different, as if you're like doing a user versus someone who's buying for a user.
Yeah.
And also, like one thing I learned, like, in a big way, was the difference of, like, what is it? The difference between like feature options and price options. This one has 6 pockets. This one has 2 pockets. This one will hold large tools. This is $20. This is $49.99. This is $100. The thing is, if you're selling to the customer, to a gift buyer, they don't care about the features. They only care about the price options. They only care about, okay, if they in their mind come to the agreement of, I see whoever I'm buying the gift for, if I can see them like this is something that they would use. Okay, the next question is, what's in my budget? Well, I usually spend $100 on dad. Okay, just buy the biggest one if it's $100. So there was one time we were on Good Morning America, and I did Good Morning America with I think it was 5 different options, and we were very feature heavy. Well, this one's different. Why each one was different. And the Good Morning America special in the day, we did like, I think it was $160,000 in the day. Now, what happened was this was a Father's Day special. And I could see in the Shark Tank community that they were trying to get their own Shark Tank special on Good Morning America. Good Morning America already gave me a slot in the Father's Day. And then I said, hey, put my name in the hat for the Shark Tank special too. Good Morning America says, we can't have you back to back within 1 week. That's too much. Okay. So fast forward, we do the special. We sell about $150,000 in the day. And then a few days go by, and then Good Morning America is reaching out to us urgently. Hey, one of the Shark Tankers dropped. We got all of your registration. If you agree, we can have you again in a week, or actually in a few. It was actually literally like the next day. And I go, look, if I do this, I can only have one product because everything else I'm sold out on. I only have one product that will be able to handle this show. And it was my medium Grypmat, and it was priced at like $19.99. It was like the perfect price. And the thing was, during COVID, I actually escaped to Hawaii. The whole COVID for like a year and a half, I was in Hawaii, which means I'm 7 hours behind Eastern Standard Time. So I wake up at like 4 a.m. my time, and I text one of the guys, Grypmat guys. I go, hey, what's our sales for this? He goes, $150,000. This is like within like 2 hours within the special. And I go, no, this sale, not last sale. He goes, no, that is the sale for this sale. I was like, we literally just launched like 2 hours ago, and we're already beating the sale last time. We ended up selling like, I think it was close to $280,000.
Nice.
So we like almost doubled by simply like having that. Yeah. So having one option, and it just like at a good price versus, because the customer gets bogged down. The gift buyer gets bogged down way faster than someone who's actually going to be using it themselves.
I'm thinking, my experience, when you give people too many options, they can't make a decision. You're confusing them.
Yeah.
But if you're like, here's one product, it's amazing, buy it, this is what you get, boom, it's easy for them to make a decision.
Almost every restaurant I go to, I'm asking the waiter what's the best thing on the menu. I don't even want the option. I'm like, just tell me what to get. I don't know.
Yeah. Another one. I mean, you could even maybe try 2 options, like an expensive one, and then the one you want to sell a shit ton of, and then it just becomes easy.
Yeah, right. They make one that's obvious. It's like, you either make a lot of money on it, and then or you'll push them to the one that you want them to try.
Exactly. You're like, option one, $150. This is the elite Grypmat, and then I have this one for $39.99. That's for everyday dad. Keep their shit together.
You see that a lot whenever there's like a 3 option thing. There'll be like, there's always like, especially with software, where they'll be like the recommended. They like literally highlight it. They're like, just pick this one.
Popular package.
Yeah, because they know like the cheapest one, they're probably going to get someone who's going to be complaining the most, and they paid the least. And then the more expensive one, they're like, we just added some random bells and whistles. It's basically the same as the medium one, but we just say something like, you have a higher level of customer support.
Right. Yeah, or there's more features included, or I don't know. There's different ways you could skin that cat for sure. Tom, tell us a little bit about the milestones that you have achieved along the way.
Yeah, so I mean, it's funny that you asked that. Early milestone was like getting the product into development, and then that took so much more effort, and like took so much longer than I expected. It took me like 2.5 years. I call it the dark ages, because it was like 2 years of not making anything. and then when I actually finally made my first sale, it was terrible. So the very first sale was at Oshkosh, I told you about, and I had like 600 Grypmats with me. I thought it was going to sell out within a few days. I had all these Grypmats. I had a truck so full I couldn't even see out the window, the passenger window. And the first day I sell 17, and this show's a week long. The last day, each day I'm gaining a little more sales. The last day, I'm like, I'm going to sell 100. At this point, like the most I sold was like 60. I'm going to sell 100. And I'm just screaming in the car, I'm going to sell 100. I'm going to sell 100, like Tony Robbins style.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, I count up everything and I sold 101.
Nice.
And I was like about to like get emotional and cry. And I could hear the guy at the booth next to me. He's like calling my name. And I was like behind this curtain where I'd keep all the grip mats. And he goes, hey, I normally work in the automotive industry. I'm just here testing out the aviation industry. I was wondering, could we make a deal that I could I've been seeing you on the last day. Everyone said that this was going to be slow and you're crushing it. You actually sold a ton. I work in the automotive industry. Could we make a deal that I could buy everything you have left? So I actually ended up selling everything on the last day.
Holy
So
crap.
that was like a huge milestone, even though like the thing is a lot of people look at Shark Tank as like a big milestone, which it was. But the thing is, like proportionally in the beginning, me selling out was just as big as going on Shark Tank.
Mm-hmm.
Proportionally getting like raising $100,000 was proportionally probably bigger than Shark Tank. And going on Shark Tank, yeah, it was a big deal. But the thing was like going through this process, I could see a lot of points. Like the biggest thing that was like holding me back was myself and my own self-doubt, but like the idea of me selling 17 in the first day, I was about ready to quit the first day of selling it. And I was just like, this is too much. I called the girl I was dating and I was like, I remember saying to her, this is not going to be as big as I thought it was. And and then yeah,
And that was your first show, right?
Yeah, that was the first show. It was at Oshkosh.
Yeah.
But I mean, a big thing with this is to me, again, like in that situation, I could feel in my gut, I could feel my intuition saying, just stick with it. Just stick with it. And that was the lesson I almost missed was that I thought I had to like grind through everything, where really if I just stay focused on what is my gut telling me to do and just focus on that, and just all you got to do is just do the best you can with what your gut says and just stick to it. I was like getting my head way too much of before Shark Tank, I pitched to you do like a practice pitch like backstage with the director and everybody. They were trying to gauge how good you're going to be on TV.
Mm-hmm.
I bombed it terribly. I was a wreck. I remember my producer. I heard her say to someone behind me, like, she goes, "Is he religious? Does he pray? Maybe we get him to pray." Just because I was in this like
meditate and calm down.
yeah, I was just in this like panic, and I mean, really, all of that it's something that I call emotional scarcity. Thing is, like I'm panicking. Actually, in that moment was specifically imposter syndrome. I think I'm going to be exposed on national television in the biggest way possible. So
Yeah.
So, I really like the concept of imposter syndrome is to me, it was like this level of like fear of rejection. And for me, like underneath the fear of rejection is a level of fear of abandonment. So all these people are going to like reject me, and I'll end up, going back to zero. Like I had this like mindset. I'd had this mindset of like, I'm going to end up going backwards because of this. And because I'm in like this panic. So I think like, again, like sticking to your gut. The thing is, the key part I think I was missing a lot with sticking to my gut was being present. Something I was always doing was flip-flopping back and forth between past and future. I'm constantly trying to predict and control the future, or I'm like regretful for something that happened in the past. So if I'm able to like, okay, let's stay present in the moment. Like right now, this is a practice pitch. We're fine. We have another day to practice ourselves, and then that's going to be the big day.
Fantastic.
So
Speaking of intuition, tell us about your the course that you just created for people that are watching and listening.
yeah. So anyone who shares the interview, anyone who shares it on social media, I got a free 7-day course of I call it intuition mastery. So it starts off like if 7 days is, I realize, is a long time to do a course, but if you're interested in just getting the very baseline, the first day I call it intuition baseline, and it shows basically a system of how to see how flooded your mind is with your thoughts, and also how to be present. So the thing is, listening to your intuition to me is the best guidance for business. Every time I've done it sounded like completely insane. When I wanted to start Grypmat, I didn't have any money. I was 23. I didn't have no experience. Sounded completely insane, but it ended up working out. So I think this is an untapped business resource that people can use to guide through business. So really in this course, setting a baseline, and the key to hearing your intuition is actually quieting the thoughts that are going on. And I see like a lot of times the thoughts that are coming up are actually rooted from unseen emotions. So if we can see these unseen emotions of, if it's fear of abandonment, fear of rejection, then therefore if we can see these emotions, then we can basically quiet the thoughts. So then we can hear our intuition faster and more frequently. So the thing is, like with hearing the intuition, your intuition will whisper before it shouts. The thing is, when it shouts is when it gets painful. So I was talking to my girlfriend earlier about her intuition told her, she's Brazilian, told her to go to England for 7 years. She didn't go. And there was a point where she was completely burnt out, and she said, screw it, I'm going. I don't care what happens. And she did great. But the thing is, when the intuition's shouting is when you're going to be at that breaking point. But the thing is, we don't have to wait till it shouts. And also, it doesn't always shout. It might be something as small as like, get off of Facebook, go read a book. It could be maybe stop reading a book. It could be anything. It could tell you to go on Facebook, and then you see, oh, my friend's having a problem. I need to go talk to my friend.
Yeah. Reminds me of the book The Alchemist. Have you read that one?
I've heard The Alchemist. I need to visit.
You got to read that book. I mean, it's right along what you're saying. And then, so there was there's a kid that goes through a journey in that book, and then sometimes there is the internal voices that he hears, for what I remember, and then there's sometimes external forces, things that are happening, like there's wind pushing him a certain way. He's like, seems like the wind is pushing me this way. I should continue going, or it's an interesting read, and a great story. I would read it based on what I hear you're working on. The Alchemist. Who's the author? I forgot the name.
It's a pretty iconic book. I'm sure I can find it
is.
on Google.
Yeah, it is out there. It's a great book. So tell us about some of the challenges you've been facing along the way while reaching those milestones.
Yeah, I mean, right away when you say that, I want to say that I can point at challenges of like, revenue was hard, or, funding, or, we didn't have enough, market capture, those all can come up. But really looking back on it, the biggest, the biggest challenge was me versus me. I remember I did an interview with the news, and someone was like trying to get it out of me of like, no one believed in me and I believed in myself. And I remember saying to her, I was like, no, actually everyone believed in me. I was the only one who didn't believe in me.
Look, it's not going to happen. That's
Yeah.
impossible.
So I, when you ask about the challenges, like I can sit here and say, well, it's something with finances or whatever, but really, I actually think, like I've been thinking about this visualization of growth is like, if you look at if you look at a normal, like spreadsheet, or like a graph of how sales are supposed to look like in a company. They always talk about like the hockey stick, like it's going to go straight up, like you're here, you're low, then all of a sudden whatever. Oh, okay. The thing is, growth for yourself and even growth for your business is not like that. I actually think it's more like a mountain with switchbacks. So the thing is, if you think you're supposed to be going forward, the thing is, when you got to do a switchback in a mountain, switchback is when you actually have to go backwards. And the focus isn't going forward. The focus is actually going up. So there's times that, like, what I'm trying to say is, like, I think revenue is not a clear indicator of growth. And the thing is, the problem is revenue and sales and profit are the easiest to measure. So then we kind of gravitate to measuring that, and that's what everyone else is measuring. But the thing is, if you actually have a mission to your company, if you have a direction in the company, more revenue is not always that.
Not the problem,
And
not the solution,
right,
I guess.
right. So I mean,
Interesting.
if we were to, the thing is, yeah, revenue increase in revenue is great, but the thing is, there might be a time where increase of more revenue is not always the same direction of whatever the North Star is for your company.
Yeah. So, how did you end up getting yourself out of the way? I mean, that's a problem that almost every business is dealing with. The founder and CEO is on the way. We need to get them out of the way. How did you go about it?
Yeah, I mean, to right now, there's plenty of times I've seen, actually during COVID, what happened was I was so good at overcoming basically the impossible. I was like, during COVID, I think we got on Good Morning America like 3 or 4 times. 2020 was our peak in sales, and that's when we really, like, we ranked really high in the Inc. 5000. And then after that, it started to go down. And the thing was, my identity was tied so closely to the business. And,
Hmm.
and what's wild with this is, my identity, since sales went down, I felt worse because I felt like, oh, I'm like in panic. What if I lose Grypmat? The thing is, I'm the one that created Grypmat, and I'm worried about losing Grypmat. Like, imagine if you had a money machine. When is the money that the money machine prints off worth more than the money machine? Never. So, so the thing is, I made Grypmat, and I'm worried about, like, losing it.
Losing it.
So yeah. So you asked, like, how do you get out of the way? I mean, I really, like, what I want to show in this course is exactly how to do that. Is like, what I was missing was the idea of identifying the emotional scarcities. So the thing is, I believe that we cannot hear our intuition because there's too many. The thoughts in our head are too loud. The thoughts that are in our head that are loud are actually coming from unseen emotions, which are typically
Hmm.
emotions that are in scarcity. So the thing is, the emotion of joy and excitement, we typically don't try to, like, bottle that up and hide it. But the emotion of I'm scared, the emotion of I don't know what's going to happen, that's something like, oh no, it's fine. We're doing great. Yeah. How's business is great. Business is great when you're, like, panicking inside and you're hiding it.
Yeah.
So really, I mean, that's when you ask me, well, how do you get yourself out of the way? That's like what I'm currently in the journey of doing, is perfecting that. Is how do you get yourself out of the way? And really, I mean, I believe listening to your intuition will tell you when to do that, when to turn right,
Hmm.
when to turn left. And also, something that's scary is, like, the idea of the intuition is, it's almost like Google Maps, where they tell you the next step. There's not the next 50 steps. It's like it turn right. When? I'll tell you when to turn right. Like just right now, not yet. In
In
100
200
meters or
meters.
whatever. Yeah, right. So I think the best way is like staying present, listening to your intuition, and also what happens with these thoughts and emotions is that I think that there's a misunderstanding of like of how to manage them. The idea of like let's say happiness. So many people say, I want to be happy. All I want to do be is happy. I think happiness is actually the byproduct of peace. If you have internal peace, the byproduct is happiness. So the idea of like our focus should be, okay, how do we make internal peace? And the thing is, if I have anxiety, most people don't think, how do I accept and like be at peace with my anxiety? A lot of people think, oh, peace is having full control over the anxiety. Peace is having the anxiety in submission. No submission, no control, full peace. So I also think of like the idea of like fully operating from your intuition is like the fastest way to grow. And the byproduct of you growing is money and fame or whatever. So the thing is, if you're focused on your intuition, you're doing what you're passionate about, what's exciting for you, the byproduct of that can be money. So the thing is, it's like the
Fantastic.
grind culture. Let's talk about grind culture. We got to grind harder, work harder. The thing is, like I was staying with my cousin who's got a 4-year-old. That kid could play all day and all night, like no question. You don't have to tell him to play. He's playing until you tell him to stop or he falls asleep. And the thing is, I think that we can actually access that ourselves of like what gets us excited, what's something that we can't stop talking about, what's something that we fly out of bed and are excited to do. The thing is that having someone operating from that versus someone who's grinding, someone who's like working another hour, putting in overtime, clocking in, clocking out. You don't have to tell this little kid to clock in to go play. He doesn't need anyone to count his time of playing. So I think a big concern is, well, how do we make money off of it? Just don't worry about making money off of it. The money will come. You just keep going in the direction.
So before the show, you told me that you are not in your business anymore. You have other people running it, and it seems to me like you have completely gotten out of the way. How did you go about that?
Yeah, that's a long story, but really,
Give us the 1 minute version.
1 minute version was I was actually working. I was ignoring this is something my intuition told me to do for a long time. And I was ignoring it. And then I ended up getting so burnt out that basically had to find someone to do it. Now, the thing is, if I would have done this earlier, financially, I'd be in a much different situation.
Like in a better place?
But I'm still in. Yeah. I would be able to like, the thing is, the company's fine. But there was a point where I was about to sell it, but then I really felt like I was like selling a part of my identity. But the intuition's like, no, it's time to move on.
Uh-huh.
And then it got to a point like, okay, well, the company's in a fine spot, but really, I felt like the universe or whatever you want to call it, like kind of forced me into like, okay, let's give up control. Let's let other people do this. We could have more measurable profit instead of me trying to constantly maximize and, I'll get hit with unforeseen things. Like one year they just like shut down the ports of receiving all the products for, I don't know if you remember that in California, they went on strike. And because of that, a lot of companies missed getting their inventory for Christmas. So that really hurt a lot of companies. But anyway, letting go of like control and like having other people manage it has been a lifesaver.
Beautiful. Tom, what would you say is holding you or your business back right now?
Hmm. I would say holding me back right now would be my focus. Um, I've been nomading, traveling around a lot. Um, I love my mom. We were traveling with my mom, and she like literally just left. So now that she's gone, I don't have this like. The joke was that my mom and I are in a, what do we call it, in a like a toxic adventure relationship where her and I would just be like, hey, let's climb up to that, you know, climb up on top of that mountain. I'd be like, what's over there? And then, you know, come back
Exploring.
eight come back 8 hours later. I'm like hardcore sunburnt and everything. But I think right now I'm actually just entered into a phase where I get to focus on me, focusing on, you know, the thing is the people that are managing the company now, on what I'll end up like working more with them, and then also making more content about. I've been calling it intuition mastery, so making more content around that.
Beauty. Beauty. All right. So let me ask a couple of. Do you read books?
Yeah,
Give me two of your favorite books of all time.
Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, Illusion of
Mm-hmm.
Money by Kyle Cease. What are yours?
Illusion of Money by Kyle Cease. Beautiful. What's one piece of advice that made a massive impact on your life or business?
That someone else gave me? A piece of advice. Oh, I like the one that you overestimate what you can do in a year, but you underestimate what you can do in 10 years.
Is that Alex Hormozy or something? Or someone else?
Maybe. I don't. That might be him, but I think I heard Tony Robbins say it. I'm kind of
It's
hot
a,
and
it's a,
cold on
it's a,
Tony Robbins.
yeah, it's a famous one and it's a good one. You
Yeah.
overestimate what you could do in a year, but underestimate what you could do in 10 years.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Good one. What you can do. Tom, this has been a great conversation. Is there a question that I should have asked and I didn't?
Um, no, I think that's everything. Real quick, I want to hear what's your two favorite books.
Oh God, I got a few. The 80/20 principle is probably my top one in terms of uh, business books and by
Okay.
Richard Koch. Um, Alchemist is one of my favorite books. Um, um, God, there's this book called, and I've read it a gazillion times. My goodness, escaping my mind. But the book by Scovelshire, the four books by Scovelshire, that's actually another really good one. Also on intuition too.
Mm, okay.
Um, now the name is escaping my mind. I wasn't expecting that question, but um, um, I'm sure they all pop right in as soon as I finish the show. But Scovelshire has a really good book, and it's on YouTube on the Master Key Society's channel. Um Amazing book. And the other one is a really good book too. And these two are my most gifted books.
When you think of
Yeah,
it, shoot me a text of it. We can put it in
I
the
will.
comments with you.
These are really
Yeah.
good books. The Alchemist was actually a really good one. We
Yeah. Yeah.
talked about it earlier. And yeah, beautiful. So, gang, for those that are watching and listening, the what Tom offered is if you share his interview on whatever channel it is that you are watching, and you tag him or you tag me and share that, you will get free access to his course called 7-Day Intuition Mastery Course, where he teaches you in 7 days how to tap into your intuition and uh, make things easier for yourself, I
Yeah.
guess.
Awesome.
Did I get everything right in there,
Yeah.
Tom?
Sounds great. Thank you so much.
Beauty. So, Tom, where can people and people that are watching or listening reach out to you and learn more about you if they wanted to reach out about you or your
Yeah, I
products?
think easiest way is hit me up on LinkedIn or on Facebook. Grypmat.com, GRYPMAT.com is our website. Um, yeah, and also if you're interested in Grypmat, go to the website. If you're interested in checking out like more of the newsletter of about intuition mastery or the course or anything, just check it out on LinkedIn. Hit me up on LinkedIn, and I will chat more about it.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. This was a great conversation. You shared a ton of value for people that are watching or listening. If you want to get access to that Intuition Mastery course, share this interview on your network and mention Tom or I in there, and you get access to that 7-day intuition course. Thank you very much. You've been watching and listening the Executive Hub Show. Yours truly, Mustafa Hosseini, and my guest, Tom Burton. Hope you guys have a great day, and we'll see you on our next episode. Bye now.